Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. So today I'll be showing us how I made this beautiful rich auntie vibes bubble gown. So if you want to see how I made it, keep watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more uploads. Thank you. So let's get into the tutorial video. So these are the materials I'll be using to make the dress. So the first thing I did was to fold the Ankara. You see the way I folded it. Those are the opening part and the other extreme end is the folded part. So what I did is to mark the starting point. That's the borderline, also known as the starting point. So after marking it, I'm going to note 3 inch. That's I'm trying to get my shoulder slope. So I marked 3 inch. Then I came down by 1.5 at the extreme end. Let me shift it so that you can see it. So I came down by 1.5 and I connected the dot to where I marked that 3 inch. So from the center of my neck to where I want my sleeve to stop, because I'm cutting the sleeve together with the cloth, it's 22 inches. But remember that I'm going to add this black material to it. So I'm going to minus 2 inches. So what I'm going to mark, it's 20 inches. That's 22 minus 2 is 20 inches. So I'm going to mark it. I hope you can see it now. So I'm also going to come down to that where I have my slant and also mark it, because that's where I'll be cutting from. So the next is to mark my neckline. For the back neckline, the width is 3 inches and then the depth is 1 inches. So after marking the 1 inches, I'll go ahead and connect it. So for the front neckline, I marked 10 inches. I just took note of the 10 inches, then came in by 1 inches. By 1 inch. I came in by 1 inch. I marked it and then connected it with my ruler. Just watch and see how the neckline is going to be. So after drawing that straight line, I'm going to use my ruler to draw for that 1 inch. I'm just trying to make sure that my lines are straight, so you can see the way it is. The next is to mark the round sleeve. What I marked here was actually 12 inches. But at the end of the day, I found out that it was too big. So I reduced it by 2. So depending on how you want yours to be. So I ended up using 10 inches. I ended up marking 10 inches. From my shoulder to my hip, it's 24. So I'm going to take note of that. So after taking note of that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect the dots. So after that, my hip is 40. 40 divided by 4, it's 10. I'm going to mark 10 inches. Then after marking the 10 inches, I added about 3.5 inches, depending on how free you want your bubu to be. Mine is 3.5. So I added 3.5. So the next is just to connect it to the sleeve where I marked for the sleeve. So that's what I'm trying to do. So just draw a straight line and connect it to that of the sleeve where you marked for the sleeve, as you can see the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to mark 1 inch. That's to be able to draw the curve. That's joining the sleeve and the body of the cloth. So I drew the curve. After marking my 1 inch, I drew the curve to connect them. So the next, for the sleeve, I came in by 1 inch so that my sleeve will look okay. Then I connected it to that tip end. You can see the way I'm doing it. So that's it. I'm going to cut that outer part out. So that's just it. So the next is just to go ahead and add the 1/2 inch. That's that I will use to join the back panel to the front panel. After adding the seam allowance, that's for the joining, I'm going to just go ahead and take the full length of the dress and then go ahead and cut. For the full length of the dress, it's just for me to mark that from my shoulder to the full length of the dress. Mine is 57. Then I added 1 inch for hemming allowance, which is 58. So I took note of the 58 and then I used my ruler to connect it. So after connecting it, I marked what I marked on the hip line is the same thing I marked on the that's at the length of the dress, which is my hip divided by 4, which is 10 plus extra 3.5 inch. So I drew a straight line to connect it to that of the hip, and that's just it with the cotton. So the next is to go ahead and cut. But of course, I'm going to cut for the back first. So I'm going to cut for the back. That's the back neckline. I'm going to cut that first. So after cutting it, I'll go ahead and separate the one for the back and then go ahead and cut the for the front neckline. So I removed one of it. This is going to serve as the back pattern. I'm just taking note to know which is the front and which is the back, that of the fabric. So the next is go ahead and cut the front neckline. And that's that. You can see the way it's looking. So I'm going to add the bring back the back pattern, and I'll join it right side facing the right side, and I'll go ahead and connect, so join the shoulders. So after joining the neck, I'll take note of this um length from this point to this point. You can see where I pointed, that's where I will stop, from that point to the next point. So that's what I'm going to measure. So after measuring it, I had about 28 inches. So this is the band for the neckline. So for the length, I added extra 2 inch, which is 30 inches. Then for the width, I have unfold is 2.5, but when you open it, it's 5 inch. So that's it. So what I'm going to do is just to place it and sew it. From that point to measure to the other is where you're going to place the band and sew. So take note. I'm going to show you the way it is. You can see the way I'm placing. So from this point to the other point, that's where you will start sewing and end. Then after that, for the sleeve, for the tip of the sleeve, I measured it. I took note of the measurement, then added extra inch. I also marked it, and it's still the same thing. The width unfold is 2.5, but if you open it, if you open it, it's 5 inches. So that's that. So you just go ahead and sew it. So let me go to the sewing machine and do that. So after sewing, this is what I have. You can see the way the sleeve is. You can see the way it is. After sewing, please make sure you give it a good press. And you can see the way the neckline is. So the next is to go ahead and place that's the other design. So what I have here is 12 inches, and then this side it's 10 inches. So what I did next is to mark 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches. I also marked 4.5 inches. Then I used my ruler to connect the dots. So after connecting, what you have to do next is just to start. I use ½ inch to fold it all round. Make sure you press it down. and then you fold that place you connected and just use your scissors to cut out the excess. To make it easy for you, you can decide to use gum stay to, place it inside and press. Or if you feel you can do it like that, just press it and attach it to the clothes. You can also do it. Then I took note of the midpoint. I took note of it. I marked it because I'm going to place mine on the center. So that's it. I also took notes on that black pattern. I also marked the center on it and then place it. But here you can decide to, play around with it. It mustn't be on the center. It could be at the right side, at the right hand side, or more on the left hand side, depending on how you want yours to be. So just go ahead and play around with it and choose the style you want. For mine, I prefer to be on the center. So what I did next is to place the gum stay under and then press it. It's easier for me this way. You can decide to use an office pin to hold it. Oh, it's for me the gum stay is perfectly okay because after pressing it, it's not going to shift. It's not going to move. So after top stitching it, the next thing to do is to go ahead and I added the pocket and then close it up. I already have a detailed video on how to add your inseam pocket. I'm going to put the link on the description box. I did not want this video to be long, so that's just it. So after adding the pocket, I went ahead to close up the sides and that is it. This is just me cutting off the excess fabric on the sleeve. So after that, I went and joined the sides and that's it. So you can see the way the dress is. It's beautiful, isn't it? I hope you learned something from this video. If you do not forget to give me a thumbs up, like, and share with your friends. Till I come your way next time with another interesting video. Do have a lovely, lovely day. Bye bye.